My name is Hakeem Abdul-Shaheed. I spent nearly 30 years of my life in prison. The last sentence was a 20-year federal sentence in which I spent 85% of that time, coming out to be about 18 years. 10 of those years was locked down in what they would call a control unit or lockdown unit in USB Marion, which is called the Federal Penitentiary in Marion, Illinois. When I arrived at Marion Federal Penitentiary, they knew about me more than I knew about them. Marion at that time was called the end of the barrel. When you arrived at Marion, that was basically it. You had been everywhere else, and I had been to all the other penitentiaries in the federal prison. I was sent to Marion from USP Terre Haute and USP, the United States Penitentiary. Terre Haute for giving a speech that the administration felt was inflammatory. That got me inside of Marion. When I arrived in Marion, the intake, I was saw by a case manager, and the case manager told me, we read your central files, we see the congressional letters, you have to serve 18 months here and you're out of here. Any problems you have, you keep them in-house. You don't have to go right to congressmen and once you do your 18 months, we will get you closer to home where your family is, which was on the East Coast. I'm from Atlantic City, New Jersey. However, 18 months came and went many times. 18 months actually turned into 10 years in Marion. I was placed in a cell, a single cell. These cells are very, very small. The beds are concrete. It's a slab of concrete with a roll-up type of foam pad that has been used by many other inmates there. So it's basically nothing. This is the only thing that separates your body from the cold concrete. The toilet is steel, and there is some sort of stainless steel reflector on the wall, on the back of the wall, over top of the sink, that's supposed to serve as a mirror. And for about maybe 7-8 years of being in lockdown, I never saw the real structures of my face. I would look into this reflection, which was distorted, and just feel my face. After about 3 years, 5 years, I felt my mind eating on itself. Sometimes I thought I was losing my mind. I would jump up in a panic attack, and I would bang on the wall. It didn't matter what time it was, I'd bang on the wall. I didn't care whether it would lead to an argument or not with the guy next to me. That made me feel more human arguing with him than sitting there letting my mind just go wherever it was going. The smell inside these cells is the smell of concrete. I can't describe to you what concrete smell like, but if you ever smell rock dust, that's what the cell smells like. When it's cold outside, the cell is cold. When it's hot outside, the cell is beyond hot. It's a windowless cell. And as I think about my many years in that cell, I sometimes look back and wonder, how did I make it out of here? Enduring that pain was just part of it. Then you had to deal with the psychological torture that the guards seem to get kicks out of. It's 3 in the morning. It's below zero outside. You bundled up. You know you can't cover your head because you don't want them to awake you by kicking the bars. But they would kick the bars, spam on the bars, and you would jump out of your sleep, right out of sleep, as if someone was, trying to attack you. And the guard would disappear from the cell. Sometimes I would wait till he'd come back and say, "Officer, why did you just do that?" And he would never answer. Every day it was something. Your mail was never on time. The wrong food tray was served to you. They would taunt with you. You never had any physical contact with the guards at all unless you was handcuffed, shackled, and 3 of them were surrounding you. This is just to take you to the infirmary or to go get an eye test. This is how brutal lockdown units are. I know of no one, and I have been here and heard stories of people saying they've been in control units or lockdown units and they feel they're normal. I know of no one in the years I spent in Marion are normal. I came out of Marion not the same as I went in there. I was afraid to go in Marion because I was afraid to have a battle with myself. I'd rather have wrestled with a bear, a grizzly bear, than to wrestle with my own thoughts. This is how Marion was for me. After spending nearly 10 years there, they have what they call a step-down program. And the way they keep you in these lockdown units is that they tell you it's on you when you get out of here. If you abide by the rules and regulations in the program that we placed before you, you will get out of the control unit, or you will get out of lockdown units. Well, I did everything they told me to do. I kept my mouth shut, didn't say anything or nothing. I went before the committee to go to the step-down program after 1 year. And they told me, you seem to have a bad attitude. You're being denied for the next step. I said, a bad attitude? I said, sir, I don't say nothing to no one. He said, that's what I'm talking about. You don't say anything to anyone. I'm hurt, I'm disappointed, I'm taken back to myself. I said, okay, I'm gonna do it their way. So they have what they call open house, where they walk every Wednesday, the warden, associate warden, and all the officials. So every time they come past the high warden, high associate warden, this is what they meant, because I have never spoken to any of them. Because they tell you in general population, you're not to fraternize with any staff member. So that speaking to them and holding conversation with them is fraternizing them. So, but in Marion, everything changed around. So now, high ward, high associate ward. The following year, I go up again. They said, well, the staff in the unit, the officers in the unit say that you seem to be distant from everyone. We went 6 more months out of here, and we'll see how that worked. Within the 6 months, a bogus incident report was written on me concerning a food tray. Now, I have to start back over. Each time you get an incident report, you start back over and over and over. All this is designed to break your will of fighting. This is all they want to do. They want you to become a robot. Don't put up no resistance. So after many years, I made it through that stage, and I made it to the next stage. While on the next stage, I wrote someone without permission. That set me back again. Another whole year. They had all types of ways of keeping you in there. Lockdown units is so brutal that the outside world cannot even begin to imagine. And the only thing I can do and say to the outside world is imagine yourself locked in your bathroom. Your tub is your bed. Everything else is the same. We cut a hole in your little door and make that a food slot. And we keep you locked in your bathroom year after year after year. It's where you sleep, it's where you eat, and it's where you use the bathroom. That's where you stay year in and year out. And even worse than that is to lock you in your own closet. This is what the lockdown units were like in Marion when I was there. Sometime in 2005, I was in the pre-transfer unit. That's the last stage you can get to before you release. And I am about maybe 6 months from going home. But prior to that, we, the Muslims in Marion, was having problems with staff as it relates to Muslims with the 9/11. After 9/11, some officers took it personal and couldn't seem to separate the ideology of those who attacked the World Trade Center and blew up other sites in our country. They couldn't seem to separate us from them. We pray alike, we read the same book, so they associated us with them and began to harass us and do all kinds of humiliating things to us as far as pat searching and these things. We began to file and write on many organizations about what was going on. Nothing came about it for 3 straight years. The Muslims basically just gave up. One day in 2005, May 27, 2005, an agent from the Office of Inspector General out of the Chicago office showed up at the prison and wanted to interview myself and other Muslims. At this time now, I'm about 76 days away from going home after a 20-year sentence. I want no problem. I want no bogus incident report to make me start back over again. I want nothing. I go in there, this private meeting with these two agents, Agent Schumer and Agent Schumacher, out of the Chicago Office of Inspector General. And I say to them, I don't want to participate with the investigation. I want no problems. I'm going home. I don't want no problems with these guards. I'm afraid if I talk to you, it gets back to them. They're going to take it out on me. We promise you nothing will get back to them. You can talk. I said, I don't want to talk. I'm going home. Because they might write a bogus incident report, anything. They said, okay. Unbeknown to me, the guards had already made up in their mind, they had went through the prison like a wildfire, that I was meeting with agents from the Office of Inspector General. One guard told me, these are the most hated agents to guards on the planet. So they believed I shared information with them that I knew from being there for 10 years. Because they also wanted information as related to an inmate who was murdered there by the name of Terry Walker, and it is believed and it is alleged with staff's help of moving him into certain situations to be attacked. So they wanted information on that, and some guards were pretty nervous about that. Well, I told him my name, told him a few things we went through, didn't want to go any further, went back to my cell. Word spread it that I had been talking to the OIG, they call him Officer Inspector General, amongst the guards. Now the guards began to step it up again. Come in my cell, take my religious books, moving them, searching me in disrespectful ways and stuff. I said, I will endure it because I'm getting ready to go home. Thank God, August 2005, a couple months after the first visit, the agent showed up again and said, we want to speak to Hakeem Shaheed again. He said, listen, we just have one question to ask you, and that's it. He said, did you share with a chaplain auditor from Washington, D.C. in 2002 that your Holy Quran was placed on a spit-stained floor by one of the staff members here? I said, yes, and while you're here, I'll tell you everything that I do know about what happened to me and other people in this prison. I said, since I last talked to you, I told you I feared for my life from these guards. I said, I'm going to tell you everything because I don't know if I'm going to live through this. And I shared everything I knew with him. I told him, I don't know if I'm going to live. He said, you will be all right. Don't worry, you will be fine. I went back to my unit, and on September 6th, a week later, a lieutenant by the name of Lieutenant Mash took, and in the name of Pat Search, he slammed his hands on my forehead, squeezed my kufi in a very disrespectful way, and stepped back and looked me in my eyes with a kind of provocation look. I didn't do anything. I immediately went to my cell, wrote the report up, writing him up, and reported it to the agent Schumer, and I told him I could not take you no more. I wrote the regional office, I told the regional office, this is it. We have done everything we can do. These guys are pushing for a bloody confrontation. These are the exact words I used. At that point, they had a chance to place me in a hole for using that kind of language. They had many choices to do. They did nothing. They denied my grievance, sent it back and said that it's not a serious matter. I stayed to myself, nothing. One day while in the unit, I was standing in front of my cell. This is all on camera now, all on camera. You see a guard come from nearly 50 feet away, charging at me. I don't know why he done it, and to this day, I can't figure out what would make him or possess him to do it. But now I'm fearing for my life. I defended myself from this guard, then went into my cell. The response team comes in, open my cell door, opposed to cuffing me up and take me out my cell and take me to the shoe if I did something wrong. They opened my cell up, pulled me out, threw me on the floor, and began to kick me all in my face. All on surveillance camera. I believe some of the staff members were top officials. I believe the captain may have been one of them. I'm not sure because I was closing my eyes, but I heard his voice when I kept saying, I can't breathe, because there's so many of them on my back holding me down. I said, I can't breathe, and a staff member said, he's kicking me in my face. He said, you're still talking, you're still talking, you're still talking. At this point, that voice, I heard that voice before, and I believed it to be the captain. And then that's when I heard someone say, get him up. and instead of taking me to the SHU, they took me to the infirmary. And in the infirmary, for 2 hours, these guys did everything. They did some of the worst things you could imagine. And all I wanted to do was survive. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to live, because now I knew what happened to other prisoners that was there. The hospital, the prison infirmary is the only place in the prison that don't have cameras. And they began to beat me, hit me with sticks, punch me. And then one big guy, he's about 6'5", maybe 200 and something pounds. He hadn't been working there for long. He some kind of way stopped him and said, "Turn him over." This guy was methodical how he went about everything he did. He took the baton, he placed it on my cheekbone, and he told the other guys, "Hold him still." And he began to grind it, back and forth, grinding it. The pain was so excruciating that I can't even begin to imitate what came out of my mouth. I just some type of howl. A staff member from the hospital ran up and said, "If you don't shut up, we're gonna kill you." I said, "It hurt." He said, "Shut up." So the guy then placed the baton on the side of my skull and began to do the same thing, grinding back and forth. Then on my jawbone, he done it. Then he turned me over to the other side. He did this for about a half an hour. He turned me to the other side. He began to grind it on each bone again. I screamed out again. Dr. Lau, the doctor, who knew I was on the chronic patient list because of high blood pressure and congenital kidney disease. He rushes out and he rushes up to me and he says, I'm on the gurney now. He says, follow my finger, follow my finger. I said, Doc, they're torturing me. They torture me. Please help me. Please help me. They're torturing me. He said, follow my finger. I said, Doc, they're torturing me. They're torturing me. He said, follow my finger. I follow his finger. He walks away. They resume doing what they did. This is all on tape. Whether they give up the tape or not, this is on tape because an officer by the name of Officer Thomas, a woman, there's a male Officer Thomas too, had a camera. And anytime the response team come, they have to come with cameras. There was a camera there. At one point I saw her with the camera, but she would follow Dr. Lau back into his little room. He would go back, they would go at it again. The pain got so excruciating, I couldn't take no more. I tried to though. I hollered out again. He came out again. Follow my finger, follow my finger. I did. Again, after telling him I'm being tortured, he goes back in his office. And at one point, the guy, this big guy, who just started working there, guard, he took it and these new batons they had, they're about this long, and they have like almost like a cross, two crosses on the side. He rammed it in my mouth, ripped my gums. Then he took it and shoved this long hand about that long down my throat. I gagged. He took it out, pushed it in my eyeball, rammed it around my eyeball, and then it hit me with it. Throughout it all, I'm trying to endure it. I don't know if I did black out or everything just went black. But throughout all this, P.A. Welch, another PA standing for physician assistant, came over, lifted my t-shirt, pointed at an area, pulled the t-shirt down, walked away. Minutes later, someone started elbowing me in that spot. He did the same thing again in the front. Someone began elbowing me there. After they finished doing what they're doing, they left, and some staff members took and x-rayed my jaw because I couldn't move my mouth from whatever the guy was doing. They took an x-rayed my jaw. They said everything's all right with him. They took me back. They called in the SWAT team. They take me to the SHU Special Health Unit in a very violent way, so much so that, unbeknown to me, I was choking when he took me there. He was choking me, unbeknown to me, because I couldn't see in no mirror when they did get me to death row. His fingerprints was embedded in my neck, and it wasn't until one of the investigators or the cameraman asked me, "How did those fingerprints get in your neck?" And I said, "What fingerprints?" I said, "There was a guard who choked me, you know." And they took pictures of all this stuff here. I began to write organizations and write people and let them know what had happened to me in Marion. But the greatest thing that could have happened to me is that I survived it. Control units or lockdown units, such places as TAMS, these are secret places of torture, whether physical, psychological, mental, whatever. These places are places of torture. They can take place out of the eyes and inspection of the outside. I support 100% those who seeking to close down TAMS or to limit what inmate goes inside TAMS. I was in Marion when the news flash came on television saying that TAMS would be opening up. I saw pictures of the place and I shook my head because I knew more Americans would go through the same thing I went through. Since being home, I was released June 14, 2006. It was very difficult for me to cope with what I was going through. The nightmares of guards, I kept having nightmares even on death row of guards doing something to me. I told the psychologist in USB Terror Hub on death row, I said, Doc, something's wrong. I keep having nightmares of guards smothering me, choking me. Something is wrong. And he kept saying, well, are you hearing voices? I said, I'm not hearing voices, but I keep having nightmares. Something's not right. You know, I wrote him and I told him in a request that I was having these nightmares and stuff, and nothing came of it. They all seem to have sided with the Marion staff about what happened to me, saying that it didn't happen. They was in denial of it happened. I didn't know what would happen to me until November the 2nd. Agents from the FBI came in and interviewed me and took pictures of me. And then, as I said, on June 14, after nearly 20 years in prison, 10 years in lockdown, they came to my cell with a camera and they said, "You'll be released from prison." So I didn't believe. I thought again that they would do something to me. So they took me downstairs and they dressed me out, took me to a bus stop, and they had a ticket. They took me to a bus stop and they had a ticket. We sat there for about an hour and I heard guards talking, saying to each other as they let this guy go.
We can stop.
And so I didn't say anything. I just wanted to get out of there. So the bus finally came and he walked up to the bus driver. They took me out the van and walked me over to the bus driver. Took my handcuffs off, gave the bus driver a ticket. He said, this guy is not to get off until Atlantic City, New Jersey. I came home. Tried to deal with the madness that was going on in my mind from being locked in a cell so many years and then to be tortured for what? For what? And then I tried to cope with it, but the nightmares kept coming. And I kept telling the probation officer, send me back to prison, because I couldn't do it. And she kept saying, Hakeem, you don't want to go back to prison. It's going to be all right. Hold on. I kept trying and trying. And told my family, took me to a doctor, and I began to see Dr. Aaron, therapist, to talk about what was going on.
with me and why this was happening. Why was I having nightmares? Why was I having thoughts in my head of wanting to hurt myself and other people? What went wrong? And from that time to now, he still trying to explain to me. The government, because of what was going on, my therapist had me go to the Social Security people and enroll in a program at the Social Security office. And the government then had me see their therapist, and their therapist made a decision that they from something called post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't have no history of this in my family. Nowhere in my lineage, no one ever had suffered from this stuff. And I had a brother who been in the military during the Vietnam era, and he didn't even suffer from this stuff. And every day I deal with the madness of this, and every time I hear about another inmate, another prisoner being hung or committed suicide or in control, I know it's pain, and I keep trying to tell people, this place is destroying people. It's destroying their minds. It's destroying them. And the sad thing is they gonna let these people out, and these people, they go back to their families. Some even want to kill their families for no reason. They don't know why. And this is the sad thing about it. They leave you there and let your brain eat off itself. It's the worst place on earth. It's where they hide inmates, young inmates that they can't deal with. Put them there and leave them alone. And they figure that this is safety for them. But most of these kids are coming home, and they come home broken. And I have family. And this is why I'm able to talk about it and not act out on all the thoughts in my head. You can realize what was going through my head when they done what they done. I grew up in a predominantly black city, in the roughest neighborhood of my city. I never had no one violate me. Never in my life. And these guys done it and they laughed. And all I wanted to do was get back in that prison. And I told the investigators, they did it to the wrong person. I didn't deserve that. And now I try to deal with the anger. They give me medication, some of the stuff I don't even know how to pronounce. Seroquel, 300 milligrams of Seroquel to quell the nightmares. They give me Cymbalta to deal with the depression. They give me Abilify, which is a psychotic medication, but used to control the anger and rage in me. They give me Lyrical, Cogitin. My hands just shake uncontrollably because of what I've been through and the near-death experience. High blood pressure. All this came from the control, being locked down in Marion. This is where it all come from. I went in there, okay, I was fine. I come out there, I'm not the same man. I'm not the same man. And although in 2 weeks, it'll be 2 years, every time I talk about it, I can smell the cell. I know what's going on in Tams. I know what's going on. And I know there are people in Tams, not with the family support that I have. And trust me when I tell you this, it's even far worse for them. Because the guard knows who get mail. They knew when they done what they done to me, they were in trouble. Because they knew I had strong family support and I was proactive. I stayed in touch with police. They knew the moment they went overboard, we in trouble. We're in trouble. And I knew when they started kicking me in my face on that floor, I knew they were going to take me somewhere, and all I was saying, God, let me live. And I lived. And until the day I die, I will continue to tell what happened in Marion. Thankful, yes, I'm in recovery, psychological recovery, mental recovery, and physical recovery from what they've done to me. But thank God, Marion is no longer a lockdown unit. No longer a lockdown unit.
And I thank God for that. Marion should have been closed down. And TAMs need to be closed down. It's real difficult for me because of the pain and some of the guys in there that I consider my brothers that were 167, I think, was deemed unsuitable for Marion. They should have never even been in Marion. This is what the BOP was able to determine, and they put them in overpopulation. Some of them that were there, they sent them to ADX. And so the struggle continues. We have to continue to stand out for these units and to let it be known it should not be used for just any type of inmate. It is used for punishment. Even strapping them down, 4-pointing them, they call it. They're using this for punishment. It's undeemed punishment. You talk back to the guard or you say something smart to them, they want to strap you down, 4-point you. All kinds of stuff going on. Right now, I'll assure you, someone is strapped down in TAMs. Someone is 4-pointed in TAMs for whatever reason in all the lockdown places around the country. We have to keep media attention on this. We have to continue to talk about it. I was one of the youngest, I think I was the youngest person on that panel that was in a lockdown unit. I heard about all those guys. I heard what they said. I heard some of them say that it didn't do anything to them, but I watched them afterwards. I seen one of them sitting in a corner with his back on the wall with dark shades on in his own world. That is a sign of being locked down. Keep your back on the wall is a known thing in prisons. He actually still there. It affects everybody. When I'm home, I can sit in a chair and stay there for 8 hours and don't even move it, don't even realize it. The concept of time don't even exist no more when you're in lockdown. My wife take off and go to work. She come home, she say, you was sitting right there when I left. Don't even use the bathroom, just sit there. It sounds unbelievable, but watch people who've been in lockup that's out here now. You see them. They in their own world because they was reduced to that. It is against humanity to place someone there. Thankful. Yes, I'm in recovery, psychological recovery, mental recovery, and physical recovery from what they've done to me. But thank God, Marion is no longer a lockdown unit. No longer a lockdown unit. And I thank God for that. Marion should have been closed down. And TAMs need to be closed down. It's real difficult for me because of the pain and some of the guys in there that I consider my brothers that were 167, I think, was deemed unsuitable for Marion. They should have never even been in Marion. This is what the BOP was able to determine, and they put them in overpopulation. Some of them that were there, they sent them to ADX. And so the struggle continues. We have to continue to stand out for these units and to let it be known it should not be used for just any type of inmate. It is used for punishment. Even strapping them down, 4-pointing them, they call it. They're using this for punishment. It's undeemed punishment. You talk back to the guard or you say something smart to them, they want to strap you down, 4-point you. All kinds of stuff going on. Right now, I'll assure you, someone is strapped down in TAMs. Someone is 4-pointed in TAMs for whatever reason in all the lockdown places around the country. We have to keep media attention on this. We have to continue to talk about it. I was one of the youngest, I think I was the youngest person on that panel that was in a lockdown unit. I heard about all those guys. I heard what they said. I heard some of them say that it didn't do anything to them, but I watched them afterwards. I seen one of them sitting in a corner with his back on the wall with dark shades on in his own world. That is a sign of being locked down. Keep your back on the wall is a known thing in prisons. He actually still there. It affects everybody. When I'm home, I can sit in a chair and stay there for 8 hours and don't even move and don't even realize it. The concept of time don't even exist no more when you're in lockdown. My wife take off and go to work. She come home, she say, you was sitting right there when I left. Don't even use the bathroom, just sit there. It sounds unbelievable, but watch people who've been in lockup that's out here now. You see them. They in their own world because they was reduced to that. It is against humanity to place someone